the most powerful drug in the world. It has created many great things as well as destroyed nations. Money. It's such a great thing. It's funny, isn't it? In the circle of life, from the time a child gets old enough to desire something with value, they immediately become obsessed with money. After all, you have to have money to survive. So, if money is so great, we must ask ourselves, can we use money as an external influence to encourage students to work harder and study to make good grades? And the simple answer is no. Education is money, and education is priceless. According to doobienews.net, students learn that working hard pays off. They learn this through future aspects of their life. They will learn that as they make good grades now, in the future, they will make more money at a good job. Time magazine says that students will be paid based off of their grades when they graduate. Students will be paid for their accomplishments in school. I have an anecdote for this. My uncle went through his freshman, sophomore, and junior year of high school making all A's with a 4.0 GPA. Because of his 4.0 GPA, as well as his behavior in the band, he got a full offer scholarship from Southern Methodist University his junior year of high school. My uncle never even had to attend his senior year of high school. And throughout his college career, he also continued with a 4.0 average, participating in the marching band at the school. Because of that, he got a very, very good offer to a good medical school and turned it down and decided that he was going to go to dental school. He went to dental school and realized that he wanted to go back and go to medical school. My uncle kept a 4.0 GPA throughout all of his years in school and now is a very successful orthodontist in Augusta, Georgia. He owns his own practice and makes well over 6 figures a year. This is because of his grades in school. He makes a lot of money now and it is paid off. When you teach children that working hard pays off, they will want to make good grades. Why get paid for having good grades when students have to pay for education anyway? Whether they are part of public school or private school, their parents have to pay money, whether it's through direct tuition or indirectly through property tax, which funds the education system. But let's take a step back and say that we should pay the kids. Let's ponder over that. U.S. News says that we should pay kids because it encourages the children to work harder. After all, if a student wants something and they desire something and they realize that all they have to do is study for a little bit and make a couple of good grades and then get paid for it, they can get whatever it is that they might want. But how can we ensure that it will work? If a student doesn't care about money but instead wants to be rewarded another way, the idea will fail. The idea is you're rewarding a student, causing them to work harder. But if the student doesn't see money as a reward, then they are not going to work harder. We all know that some students come from very good home lives, and in those home lives, their parents may give them quite a lot of money, whether they have good grades or not. Maybe if they help out around the house, their parents give them money. And if they get money from their parents, then they might not feel the need to work hard in school to make the money for having their good grades. So it would not work out. Instead, we have to find a way to make the children want to work harder. We need to teach the children to feel accomplished for getting the good grade in the first place.
Woo!
We need to teach children that as they are successful in high school and as they are successful in college, they will in turn be successful in the real world and in life. They will get a high, well-paying job and move up in their job field. Students go to school to learn how to make money. The sole purpose of school is to educate somebody in order for that person to be successful. You don't want a doctor who has had no schooling. They must be educated. But if you have terrible grades, you can't be a doctor. And if you have even worse grades, then you might not even be able to get into college. So the reward is college. You are learning a valuable skill, and that is how to learn. And you should not be paid for learning how to learn and being good at learning. Woo-hoo! Why get paid for having good grades when students have to pay for education? All students have to pay for their education in order to get it, and that will happen, like I said, through property tax or a direct tuition. TakePart.com says that we should not pay students for better grades because they will be paid larger amounts after they graduate. If we pay students now for having good grades in school, then they will be expecting a larger amount after they graduate, more than what they were making in school. And they obviously will. But what if the student doesn't think that they are being paid what they are worth because they were paid so much in school? It is a waste of money to pay students to be good at learning because those who are better at learning will most likely make more money in the real world. Yes, there are times when people who don't make very good grades are very successful in the world. Sometimes even more successful than those with a good education and those that do make good grades. But instead of using money to influence children to make better grades and to study and work harder in school, what we need to do is find a solution to the entire education crisis itself. At the moment, students are not learning. Students are memorizing and regurgitating for a test. And that is because the education system is set up in a conveyor belt fashion. See, what we've done is we've taken students and put them in a classroom, and we throw them information, and those who retain the information long enough to pass a test move on to the next classroom, and so on. And if you've noticed, many schools are set up in a floor system. My school is 3 levels. You have the 6th grade hall and the 7th grade hall on the 3rd floor, the 10th and 9th grade hall on the 2nd floor, and 11th and 12th on the 3rd floor. And you have 8th in between the 2nd and 3rd floor. What they've done is they've taken the students and put them in the 6th grade classrooms, and they've moved them down the hall. And as they pass, they move down the hall to their different classes. In 7th grade, they go to the next hall, and they go the opposite way. And then in 8th grade, they come down, and then over here. And then in 9th grade, they come, and 10th grade, they come, and 11th, 12th, and so on. It is literally like a conveyor belt. We're shoving students into a classroom, telling them things, lecturing, expecting them to learn. But how can they be expected to actually learn that knowledge? I know for a fact that I only learn when I find something interesting, and you're never going to find something interesting when you're being lectured at it unless it's natural. We must find a way to make the students feel interested in the subject, and paying students to feel interested is not the way to go about it. Paying students for their good grades is paying them to be interested, which will allow the education system to continue failing. If you look at a cell phone from 100 years ago, you wouldn't see anything because cell phones did not exist. If you look at a car from 50 years ago and a car from today, it's changed drastically. If you look at a classroom from 100 years ago and a classroom from today, you'll see no difference at all. You'll see rows of students lined up behind each other, all looking at the front of the classroom at a board that's telling them what to think and what to remember, at a teacher who is standing and giving a lecture, who doesn't really care about being there any more than the students do. To the teacher, it's a job. To the students, it's a task they must do before they complete the rest of the day. Woohoo! If we pay students, we will lose money as a nation. We have to continue working with the education system to increase its value to the students. We have to get the point across to the students about how valuable education actually is. Without doing that, there is no way of the students knowing what they're getting themselves into. No student will actually care about what they're learning. But if we want students to do better in school, why are we suggesting paying them for doing better instead of taking the obvious step to fix the education system? It's my belief that as a nation we have become lazy, and we said that money can be the solution to anything, because in a lot of situations it is the solution. However, education and money do not mix. Education costs money, but you should not be paid for being good at being educated. Like I said earlier, education is money, and education is priceless. So, if students go to school to learn how to make money, it's pointless to pay them because we're paying them to learn. Students may not like learning, but learning is very, very valuable. We must get this point across to all students. We cannot waste money on paying students and taking the risk of a student expecting higher wages after they graduate. Instead, what we must do is look at the picture as a whole and make sure the students understand what they are and how important the moment of their life is.